The journey we share is a triumph over adversity. Although two persons are highlighted, this is bigger than any individuals. This story began at the close of the bygone millennium. An article in the Omaha World Herald had identified research at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. The research used embryonic tissue to develop treatments for viral and degenerative diseases. Subsequently, Nebraska's unicameral proposed a ban on stem cell research that would have restricted the life-saving work already underway. The laboratory of Dr. Howard E. Gendelman faced harsh scrutiny. Criticism turned into harassment. Protesters picketed his Omaha home and targeted his family. This served as a catalyst for the birth of the Nebraska Coalition for Life-Saving Cures. The coalition's founders pooled resources to ensure federally approved research could continue in the state. Meanwhile, scientists like Dr. Gendelman and his colleagues have blazed new paths of revolutionary research to eliminate human suffering. Today, their research has succeeded in providing relief to the ravages of devastating diseases like AIDS, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's diseases. Their research has led to the first eradication of HIV from live animals, the world's first once-annual vaccine mimetic prodrug for HIV, and other groundbreaking new therapies for brain disease. After work at the National Institutes of Health, the Johns Hopkins and Walter Reed Army Medical Center, Dr. Gendelman came to UNMC. He established the Center for Neurovirology and Neurodegenerative Disorders. That center evolved into the Department of Pharmacology and Experimental Neuroscience. His success by citations alone positions him at the very top of the world's most influential scientists. These career successes are mirrored in the accomplishments of his life companion, Dr. Bonnie Bloch, a community leader, a teacher, and an advocate for social change. For the benefit of all society, this impressive couple has dedicated their talent and intellect to fixing and repairing the broken parts of the world where they have the ability to make a difference. Nebraska Cures honors Drs. Gendelman and Bloch with its Lifesaver Award. For the occasion, their collaborators, colleagues, friends, and family have shared some words of reflection on their pioneering contributions to science, to society, and to our lives.
I was delighted to learn that Nebraska Coalition for Life-Saving Cures is recognizing Howard Gendelman and Bonnie Bloch for their outstanding contributions in Nebraska.
He is a true scientific leader, thinker, doer for better future.
Literally calling me right now. I'm recording your video. You got to give me a couple minutes. I'll call you back.
His day, believe it or not, starts about 4:30 in the morning. He gets up, he goes into his basement office, he starts working on email, and then very often he'll ride a bicycle from his home in the Burke High School area to UNMC. For those who aren't from Omaha, that's got to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 miles, I'm guessing, give or take. He flies all over the world. He manages a department of about 160 people. He publishes multiple journals. And I still remember this story of when COVID was just breaking out and his department was already managing a vaccine for HIV and also hopefully a cure for Parkinson's. So I asked him, I said, which of these are you going to give up to work on COVID? And he said, none of them. We're adding it on. That's the way he pushes his department. That's the way he pushes for success.
I'll tell you 2 quick examples. Dr. Gendelman, I called recently about helping somebody out. And he said to me, you know, Rabbi, I'm so busy, literally from early morning to late night. But if it's about helping somebody and perhaps saving their lives, I have no choice but to say yes. This is the kind of person that Dr. Gendelman, that how he is. This is how I know him. And he'll go to the end of the earth to save a life. This is the man that I know. This is the man that I respect. And this is the man who we're honoring today. Dr. Bloch, Bonnie, known for so many years, as her rabbi and as her friend. I've helped her, she's helped me. One thing I can really talk about with Bonnie, with Dr. Bloch, besides her incredible achievements in medicine and her incredible achievements career-wise and everything that she went to school for, she has always looked out for the underdog. She always helps out the people who need the help the most and probably don't have the most help.
Throughout my childhood, I have witnessed my father's endless commitment to progressing and innovating with his medical research. His scientific discoveries are an unimaginable gift to society. My mother is equally, if not more, credentialed with both a law and medical degree.
My mother has always been there for me whenever I need her. She helped me raise my daughter and continues to hold that relationship as a special one.
Hi, I'm Emma, and I just wanted to say thank you to BB and Zadie Howie for everything that you've done for me throughout my life. You have made such an impact on my life, and you have supported me through everything. I love spending time with you guys, from going to Disney and running races together to spending holidays with you. Congrats on this award. You deserve it.
I can't imagine more supporting and loving parents. They are always there for the big moments and the small. Thank you, Mom, for being the matriarch of our family, for allowing us to follow our dreams, and for being such a strong support system. You've helped me in some of my most challenging times, including over 7 moves, and some of those international. Thank you, Dad, for being such an inspiration to us, for being an example of what hard work, drive, and determination can accomplish. I am who I am because of the loving parents and home that I was raised in. My goal is to instill the same values in my 2 children and find ways to give back to the community as the way that my parents have.
I was president of the Orthodox Synagogue maybe a dozen years ago or more. I was fairly young, so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And so I did it, and I saw all these things coming at me, and Bonnie took over. Everybody thought I was the president, but she was really the president. Bonnie was running everything behind the scenes. She made things, so easy for me, and I would basically be running my corporation, and whatever Bonnie said, I said, yes, that's right. So she made me look like a genius. I don't know if he wants me to mention this, but go ahead and you can put it out there. But when he was president of the synagogue for a short time, I really don't think Bonnie helped him as much as she helped me. The next president of the synagogue, when I was done with my 2 years, was Bonnie, who was really running things for the last 2 years. And she was the first woman president of an Orthodox synagogue in Omaha. I don't know if we'd be here today honoring Howard and Bonnie if it wasn't for Bonnie.
I know a lot of attention will be going to Howie at this event, but Bonnie definitely shouldn't be forgotten. The amount of time I've spent in their home, the hospitality she's shown me, the grace, and the way in which she's handled multiple priorities, both managing the home, supporting Howie, and the Jewish community of Omaha. She's just given a tremendous amount of herself. And for all the events that I've attended, the meals, the Sabbath meals, high holiday meals and things like that, never a complaint, and always deflecting compliments. She's turned what could be a very hectic home and a very hectic environment into an environment that's really very warm and welcoming. Makes Howie look very good, and whether she's willing to admit it or not, makes her look very good as well.
I met Howard at the Chabad synagogue, and I had cancer and I had a large tumor removed from me. And Howard shows up at my house one day to check on me, and just a nice guy. We just became very good, close friends.
Howie isn't just motivated by the hard science. He isn't just motivated by a sense of accomplishment or money or deals with pharmaceutical companies. He's mindful of the people around him. And no matter how crazy busy he is, and he is by far the busiest person I've ever known, he still has this awareness and this consciousness about the people around him. But even more powerfully to me, I remember the day that I called him and he was in his car, not driving around Omaha, but rather driving to Philadelphia. His mother wasn't doing well, living in Philadelphia, and he had items he wanted to bring to her. He was driving all the way to Philadelphia, and I said, Howie, how long will it take you to get there? And it turned out that he was taking a 26-hour drive straight through. No stops except for food or gas or bathroom. He drove straight through to see his mother. And then later in the day, I spoke to him. He still hadn't slept. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm mowing her lawn, and then I'm going to the grocery store to pick up groceries." When I think about the really impressive people that I know, it's often not the big accomplishments that end up moving me. It's the things that nobody else will know about.
Dr. Gendelman has a special ability to befriend and support folks of every race, religion, sex, and any other box that could divide people. He brings people together. Every now and then, Dr. Gendelman will call me with an anecdote from the past, from his growing up, his time in the Army, his time at the NIH on the ground floor of AIDS research in the 80s. His experience has been invaluable for our scientific progress, our business strategy, and our company culture. A company I started with Dr. Gendelman to carry forward his discoveries into human clinical trials and hopefully to cure HIV and AIDS. I first met Dr. Gendelman over the internet in the early midst of the COVID era. I had come across his research in the HIV field, and in particular, a very special molecule that he and his team had created that had an outstanding profile. And essentially, as soon as I saw the data, I knew that I just had to have it. And I wrote to him and insisted that we start a company. As I got to know Dr. Gendelman and his partner, Dr. Adagwa, and learned more about their research, I kept getting drawn in. At the time, I was working at a large New York-based hedge fund making investments in biotechnology, mostly in the cancer space, and making more money than I ever had in my career. I was on a better professional path than I had ever imagined. But the opportunity to work on these drugs and build a company with Dr. Gendelman was so appealing. And so earlier this year, I transitioned to working on Exivir full-time and dedicated myself to this journey. About a year and change later, we are well-funded with a strategic partner preparing an investigative new drug application to begin human clinical trials for a transformative HIV therapy that could effectively end the spread of the virus. We have the opportunity to make an enormous impact for the 40 million people infected with HIV today and the hundreds of millions of people at risk of infection. I wake up every day and think about that, and that is a gift that I have Dr. Gendelman to thank for.
And this is really where Howard Gendelman has really offered very, very significant contributions. We all know that COVID-19 has only reinforced the fact that infectious diseases are a major threat. Well, it's obvious now, but a few years ago, it was not so obvious.
In 1995, I was looking for a way to remember my parents. My father's family was affected by Alzheimer's disease, and we were looking at geriatric disorders. My mother lived to 99, so geriatric fits in with our family. I'm getting there myself. Howie had the vision that inflammation was related to neurologic diseases. This was contrary to the accepted thinking, which was focusing on protein buildup in the brain. That was the exciting thing. But his brilliance and persistence in thinking outside of the box was an orphan concept. And those concepts did not attract financial support like the sexy theories that everybody was working on in the day. His vision and dedication inspired me to support his research. He was always excited about what he was doing, and that just was contagious. His theory of unchecked inflammation is now being considered by other experts worldwide, so he was just ahead of his time.
You know, sometimes I liken it to, you know, back in years before us, everybody thought the world was flat. It was flat. And people are like, oh, I think it's round. And like, nope, it's flat. And so Gendelman's idea is that novel, and that Parkinson's disease is this, it's this. And he's like, no, it's this. And I'm going to stick with that. And I'm going to go with that. And he's really proven himself that he's right in where his thinking processes have been.
The patients, these Parkinson's patients, have been waiting decades for somebody to think outside of the box and to be perseverant and to find an approach that would work, and not just to be concerned with following the mainstream.
Well, first let me introduce, I am a PD patient. I suffer from Parkinson's disease, which of course I was told, as everyone else, there is no cure for it. And when I was told that Dr. Gendelman is working on a cure and is close with it and he has already up to this stage in clinical trial, I was of course very hesitant about it. But everything changed once I met Dr. Gendelman. I'm not a big researcher, I'm not a big scientist, but I deal a lot with people, and as a judgment of a character, I got to learn Dr. Gendelman, you don't need to be too great at that. But right away I learned I'm dealing with not an ordinary person, what a special person he is.
I still remember the first time when he came to my office and was telling me about what his ideas and concept were behind what was the cause of Parkinson's disease. And it was new and novel, and I'd never heard of anything like it before. And there were lots of people along the way that didn't want to give him money, didn't want to support him, didn't want to give him the financial, the means to support of any type.
In the past couple decades, it has become evident that inflammation plays a large role in the development and progression of Parkinson's disease, and Howard and his team have been at the forefront of this research. Howard is currently leading important projects to develop biomarkers and therapeutics for inflammation in Parkinson's disease that we at the Michael J. Fox Foundation are funding.
And so because of his dedication, because of his perseverance, he continued on that track of what he really believed in. And because of that dedication to his idea, we now have a drug that we know that is actually helping people with Parkinson's disease. And his idea came from nobody knowing to now it is talked about all over the world. So this is a world-renowned aspect of research, which is new and novel only because Dr. Gendelman came up with it, and only because he persevered and because he was dedicated to his ideas, which I think is very impressive, because lots of other people and researchers along the way would have probably taken another course that might have been easier than the one that he chose.
The most important thing here has been how the lives of the patients have been changed by the courage, the commitment, and the intelligence of a brilliant physician and his excellent team. For PTX, Howie's work means that an indication that was barely mentioned 3 years ago is now the program that we will commit the single largest amount of research dollars to going forward.
His lab at UNMC when he arrived was just a little space, and it has grown and grown and grown to cover much of the couple floors of the Durham Research Center. He's attracted international research experts collaborating in the search for treatment and cure of neuroinflammatory diseases.
I remember very clearly when you arrived at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in 1982. Whoa. And we were studying lentiviruses. At that time, HIV hadn't emerged, or it was not even on the horizon. But we were looking at these lentiviruses because they were infections that caused slow but inevitable disease and death. You were very busy seeing patients as well as learning your way around the lab. You took on several projects on lentivirus infections in macrophages. This was really a new area of our research, and you were very excited to take on as much as you could. You came back to the lab after you saw your patients, and inevitably you wanted to dive right into what we were all doing. It was really fun to have such an energetic new member of the team. You wanted to learn everything at once. Are you still that way? I think so. I think we both are. You were eager to learn molecular biology, immunology as quick as you could. You published the first report of lentivirus infection of macrophages, the macrophage precursors in bone marrow. I don't know if you remember that. I didn't until I looked back at our CVs.
Let me take you inside the laboratory. His laboratory has always been diverse on the multiple level. Not only his focus on the work diverse spanning for the HIV to Alzheimer's disease, but also people in his lab established. He provides weekly one-on-one, group meetings, large meetings, as well as interdisciplinary collaborative meeting in campus, off campus. Each student provides the guidance individually, nurture them for their works, career guidance, and step by step how to move forward and make it the impact in the better future and train the next generation of scientists. He has recently, his laboratory, 6 graduated PhD students in the 18 months with the post high impact publications, multiple patents. This by far one of the most productive laboratory for the students, postdocs, and junior faculty at UNMC.
I am a PhD graduate, recently graduated from Dr. Gendelman's lab. He is a supervisor who pushes you to learn, to develop your skills, to complete your project successfully, to graduate on time, and to be prepared for the next step in your career. I, as one of his graduate students, would like to thank him for all what I learned from him during my PhD studies in his lab, for developing my skills, for all the accomplishments I achieved under his supervision, and for preparing me for the next step in my career, which will be a postdoc in his lab.
He spends time mentoring students and interns, and his lab now is just an outstanding, internationally recognized center of excellence. He's excited searching for results that can benefit humankind and change the world. As areas of his research, he's included HIV/AIDS, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, most recently COVID, and I think this could translate into MS and other neurologic diseases. And this research is coming to fruition. We're seeing vaccines, we're seeing treatments, and it's really an exciting time.
Where are we in HIV therapy? We are we had major advances because we understood the molecular biology of HIV's replication cycle. Before that, we didn't have any treatment for a systemic viral disease. HIV is historic in that respect, but we now have taken that about as far as we can go. So future of therapy maybe comes out of understanding pathogenesis, how the disease works, or in making drugs better targeted, or making the drugs longer lasting, or both, or attacking the genome of HIV in its integrated form. All of these things Howard is working on. Delivery, the nanoparticle story, of which he's become expert on. Making drugs last longer, which he's becoming expert on, trying to develop new ones along the way. And also this focus on really trying to help the central nervous system disease and getting rid of the reservoir that's there. Meanwhile, with the molecular biological advances with so-called CRISPR technologies, he's advancing that to see if they can actually destroy the DNA that's integrated from HIV in host cell, particularly the host cell reservoirs.
One of the things that has struck me about Dr. Gendelman is not just that he's a brilliant scientist. I am thrilled about the drugs we've created and the company we're building, but Howard has also become a close friend of mine who truly has an amazing heart.
As the Parkinson's drug came out, people started approaching him for help. And he was telling me how he spoke to this person and to that person who was looking for help as a result of this Parkinson's drug. And I said, Howie, why don't you have your secretary handle these calls? And he said, they expect to talk to me. And he wanted to make sure, even though he could have pushed off these calls to other people, that he handled them personally. Somebody who has a love for the people around him, I imagine, has to produce better work than somebody who's just purely technical. Nebraska is lucky to have this man. The university is lucky to have this man. They should never let go of him. One, for the quality of work that he's already done, and two, I believe, for the accomplishments that he's yet to realize.
I really admire what Howard has been doing, and I really believe he deserves the honors that you are giving to him today.
So to you, Dr. Bloch and Dr. Gendelman, I'm proud to be your rabbi. I'm proud to be your friend.
God bless you, Howard Gendelman and Dr. Bloch, and thank you for all that you do.
To both my dad and my mom, you are so loved by your grandchildren, Sasha, Samson, Jason, and we are so proud of all you've accomplished. I love you a lot.
Congratulations, we love you.